I mean, this is the same side that did Operation British. I don't think they're gonna post.
You can't fucking say that. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. We of course come back with notes, we come back with comments, and of course we come back with a board. So let's start off with the board. And with the board comes a board changelog. I added the new accomplice, and I added them to the Zeon's crew green line. I don't know. I thought I changed that. What's his name? Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, I thought I had. I thought I had written it in there, but I didn't.
Bernie?
What are you repeating at me?
Bernie, not Charlie. You said Charlie, and I was like,
"Who's
Charlie?"
I said Charlie. Bernie is not a new accomplice. Bernie has been here since episode 1.
That's why you're talking about the spy, the Zeon spy, yeah.
Yes, I said new accomplice, and you're like, Bernie, the guy who's been here since episode 1. That's why I was very confused. Yeah, no, Charlie. I know what I'm saying. I don't know why I didn't add his name here. Probably because I added it before he was named. I added Steiner to the captain's name. I added Richard Lumbumba. Nope, that was wrong. I added Richard Lumumba. That's gotta be right. Lumumba. And connected him to Al and Chris with a green line. I added Unit Spacey Commander and connected them with a green line to Chris. I marked Garcia as dead. I connected Chris and Misha with a red line. And I marked Misha as dead.
Also, it's UNT, I think, Spacey. I don't know why there's a T there, but yeah.
Well, there's a T in unit. I did say Unit Spacey.
That's how that's appears in the banner above the guy who's like, "Oh, we're not gonna send any mobile suits," and then, yes, send in the mobile suits.
Also, I'm pretty sure it's written elsewhere as Unit, UNIT, like on the ship.
The not white base. White base.
Got notes about it. Well, anything to say about the board?
Not really. Those who are alive are alive. Those who are dead are dead.
It's my favorite Coliseum announcement. All right, well, as I said, we have notes. I came with more. That means I go first. I know I've been keeping track of the goings-on across the Gundam universe for each show that we've been watching, so we always know what is going on elsewhere. So, update time. Last episode covered a couple of days, but the day of the fight at episode's end also corresponds with Mobile Suit Gundam episode 34, which is where Amuro meets Lala and the white base leaves Side 6. Also, we're 6 days away from Christmas, aka Dozel's death day.
I have a note about that because I think that is actually might be wrong according to the wiki.
Well, one thing, stop fucking reading the wiki. And
yeah,
two,
I was checking the dates.
Quick,
that's why
just a quick note to myself. Apparently, I must have written this after I smashed my head in with a hammer. All ALSO space COORISPONDS space WIT space. Like, this reads as though an idiot wrote it. And I know some of you out there are like, an idiot did write it. Well, shut the fuck up.
Well, you stop putting words in so many people's mouth and you wouldn't get that result.
Yeah, I'm putting some in their mouths, all right. Anyway, what was your argument?
Okay, because I want to go directly to my note. Okay, where was it? It was about the date. The date, according to the parking meter, is December 17th. By this time, the white base is long gone since the battle with Coscon happened on December 5th.
No, sorry. For one thing, remember also, when I said in my note, when you were saying that my note might be wrong because of the day, this episode takes place between 17th and the 19th. And, sorry, now, to debate you, I've got to bring up the other notepad. You see timeline that I've been keeping track of everything in. December is such a crowded month for this thing. Episode 4, 19th. Mobile Suit Gundam episode 34 is on the 19th, which is the day that they leave Side 6. That is the date. Again, it's the same episode where Amuro meets Lala.
Well, I said my note, so I guess it's next to your note then.
According to the news, Zeon has broken the treaty twice now, and I have to believe both times are during this show. The first time when Bernie first shows up, and the second time being the trick to get the crew inside by staging an attack on the transport Bernie was piloting. The Side 6 government protests, and the Zeon government refuses to apologize for its actions, resulting in a bill barring all Zeon ships from Side 6 Banshai. As I covered before, the final day of this episode takes place on the same day as White Base leaving Side 6, so despite the voted on approval of barring all Zeon ships, Char's Musai was still allowed to stay a couple of days. I suppose the fact that Char obeyed the treaty while he was there, not attacking White Base and crew inside the treaty limits, may have given him some goodwill to last the day or so that the bill allowed for, because the bill does say a day or two to leave. On the other hand, there's also always the case of, what you gonna do, kick him out if he refuses?
There's also another option. There's somebody in Ria who doesn't want White Base to get attacked or damaged or killed because they were once the fiancé of the helmsman of the White Base.
I don't know how that connects.
Letting Char leave on his own accord instead of like try to push him out would avoid a fight inside the colony, which could potentially damage or destroy the White Base as well. Just a possibility.
I don't think Cameron has that much pull. Even when Cameron says, I can get you guys off the hook for firing your weapons when you're supposed to be peace bonded, it's not, I can do this. My dad can do this. Cameron's pull is whatever his dad lets him do. He's Helmeppo from One Piece, for you One Piece fans out there. Don't you know who my dad is?
Anyway, to my first note, short note on Al. This is episode 4, the river over the river into the woods. Now, Al is a ninja, I guess, because the episode stops when he's about to be discovered. The soldiers pass, and he's up in the pipe, and nobody saw him climb up. Just disappeared.
I mean, I guess I was just mostly thrown by the element. Was that your whole note? You said, I guess, and I just expected the explanation of events. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I commented on it during the reaction. I guess he just pulled himself up by the window frame, put his foot on the vending machine, put his other foot back into the hole of the window frame, grabbed the things, and hung there. My commentary during the reaction was, how did the soldiers that were literally next to him not see him climb? No peripheral vision.
Point, yeah. No. Well, even they were looking down the corridor, so he had to climb while they were walking.
Well, one was looking forwards, the other one was looking kind of this way because he's looking at the guy he's talking to, but that's still the guy looking forwards who still had clear, 75-degree peripheral.
Yeah. He should still saw him. That's why I say he's a ninja.
It makes sense that Garcia and the team would be pissed at Bernie. It's not just that if he got caught, he'd be killed, or even that if he got caught, the entire mission would be put into jeopardy. For some reason, I decided to capitalize jeopardy as though I'm talking about the show. Stupid me. They have no actual means of escape once the mission is over, beyond their mobile suit, which seats one pilot. They've been sent in with a find-your-own-way-out retrieval option. It's a death sentence for the entire team if one of them gets caught and the Feddies manage to make them talk.
I have a note about that. I get that Garcia's angry since Al's actions were extremely reckless, but at the same time, they got the intel they needed.
The risk doesn't
that it was a mobile suit.
The risk isn't worth the benefit.
I mean, they were doomed anyway.
They were already planning to do the assault. They didn't need the information that they got. And then the risk being that if Bernie got caught and the Feddies found out that there was a Zeon operation going on, they're now in more danger than they were before for information that they didn't need.
I still believe it basically was a suicide mission, so it was either way they were all doomed to
Doesn't
die.
matter. Well, one, it does matter in the element that it's not a suicide mission. They're not there to die. Again, that's the difference here. They're not being sent in. The element that their retrieval option is find your own way out implies that, yeah, leave when you're done. Not your problem is here that I keep comparing this to 86, where the mission parameters in 86 are don't leave. Stay there, fight until you can't fight anymore, and then die. Those are your mission parameters, because that is a suicide mission. We don't want you to come back. This one is literally find your own way out, which is an open door to get out however the fuck you can get out. So
yeah, but it's more like we don't give a shit about you anyway. If you can get out, fine. If not, well, fuck you then.
no, they're essentially Xeon's white base. Remember, white base was also a decoy. They're decoys. White base wasn't thrown out there to die. White base was thrown out there to be a decoy. Preferably, you don't want your decoy dead. They stop being a decoy once they die. Keep looking over there. We're doing something else over here. So, the fact is, yeah, escape. Try and escape. The moment you try and escape, they're going to follow you in space, too. You're still going to be good for us.
Yeah, that's not how I read the situation.
I know. I obviously. Quite frequently, we don't read the situation the same way.
Especially that conversation with Bernie. Not with Bernie, with Charlie. It's like, you're fucked, right? Yeah, I know we're fucked.
I got a future note about that, but that's more about the difference between the sub and the dub.
Yeah, the dub. I listened to the dub, and it was kind of
I'll get to that when I get to that, unless you have a note about it, and then you'll get to it first. But no, either way.
No,
I'll get to it when I get to it, because it's not my next note.
Oh, then to your next note, then.
I'd be a bit more concerned about a kid that doesn't wake up to repeated shaking, and worse, doesn't respond to them at all. If Al hadn't grunted a couple of times after being picked up, I'd think he was already dead.
Kids can be pretty heavy sleepers.
I mean, and that's what I told the judge.
No, I mean, if he's not breathing...
Your Honor, I shook him a bunch of times. Kids can be pretty heavy sleepers.
I mean, clearly, if he's breathing, he's not dead. So that's...
Lessons, you're going to jail for gross incompetence for taking care of a child.
Oh, of course.
If you had gone to the hospital... No, I'm not even carrying over that. I'm not carrying that old joke. I mean, I just mean that if you had taken him to the hospital within, like, a time frame of him falling into whatever problem he had, you might have been able to save him, but you thought he was asleep the whole time, because kids sometimes are pretty heavy sleepers. The fact that he's right. Like shaking the fuck out of Al, and Al's like, nothing. But he's not even making noises. That's my concern. And then eventually he picks him up and Al goes, a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, he's not dead at least, or the gases are escaping his body and he's already long gone.
Anyway, to my next note then. The pink elephant is a bit on the nose, or trunk for a bar. It might also be signal that animators have seen a lot of Western cartoons as well.
I mean, specifically the one.
Several. A lot of... I mean, Dumbo? Dumbo, yeah.
Okay, 2. I'm going to say 2 then. I forgot Dumbo. I was going with Winnie the Pooh.
And it happened a couple of times in Looney Tunes as well. Yeah, you can literally Google pink elephant cartoons and you can find like a dozen or more examples. So yeah.
Never been that bored.
I just remember watching a lot of...
I saw Dumbo as a kid, and I remember the honeypot dream from Winnie the Pooh.
I remember all that happened a lot of... also, most of the stuff was on repeat anyway, so probably saw it multiple times. It's just that one or two versions
I've
of
seen
it.
a lot of Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera and whatnot, but never anything with a pink elephant. I think I was more a fan of like Wacky Racers and things like that. Well, more Al being a piece of shit. This time, school edition. I suppose we could question what Al knows about anything. Like what I'd assume to be the many well-known Zeon war crimes. In fairness' sake, Al's argument isn't that Zeon hasn't done anything bad. It's that Zeon is cooler. And fair enough. Zaku's are really powerful and GMs suck. Isn't an incorrect statement.
I mean, GMs are fine. Or gyms, if you're translating it to the English.
Well, my point is that his argument about Zeon aren't the baddies, stupid argument. Like, I think he's just a stupid kid. He's being held back a grade. But that he doesn't fight them on their ground, that Zeon aren't the bad guys. Zeon's just cooler. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. You win. We're the good
I
guys,
mean,
and you're the cool guys. Sharks versus whatever.
It's the who has the best console, home computer, toy argument in grade school, right? Oh,
Super
the
Nintendo.
the Decepticons are cooler. It's like, yeah,
They
but
are.
they're the bad guys, right? But it doesn't matter. They turn into a gun. Blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that you make the bad guys cool, so the show is more entertaining to watch. Because then otherwise, like, why would the fuck would I want to watch bad guys do bad things? Because they're cool. Because they're cool to watch.
Now, the code that we see on screen seems like C used to code a BBS or some sort of database, or I could be completely wrong on that. I don't remember that much about coding
It is,
in the 90s.
I don't know what it is. I was looking at it, and there was like an image download code in there, along with a bunch of debug. So I don't know. So I mean, clearly they're getting like maps and shit from a database. So we got a big battle last episode. Clearly, a lot more people are going to be affected by this than the smaller incursions that Bernie was initially involved in. The school scene, where all of Al's friends gang up on him for trying to defend Zeon, and the girl is the one that saves him, feels to me like it's going, that it's there to give Al more of an attachment to his friends before a reveal. As I said before, I think the end credits gives away that all the kids will survive. Right or wrong, that's the assumption I'm working with right now. So I think the thing that'll happen this episode is that the girl is going to show up next episode crying about how someone in her family died due to the attack last night. And Al, already shaken by the magnitude of what he's witnessed, is going to let that sink in and realize who he's been helping.
I don't know about that last one, though. I think that about who he realizes who's being helping. I don't think he understands that aspect.
That's what I'm indicating is going to happen. That he's going to gain some level of understanding. We're 2 episodes from the end. If Al is going to be an idiot to the end, then I don't understand what the point of following the kid was. I think the kid has to grow up a little bit for the show to have any meaning. Otherwise, it's, hey, look at a kid go through some hard times. You know, that is some stories, but it's not stories that I enjoy watching.
Oh, this is a more technical thing, and I had to look at prices for this. The fact that the camera has a built-in laser image printer shows how much this is an 80s product. And by the way, high quality, that's the important part. Printers that could produce glossy like that were hideously expensive back in the 1980s. Now, I did search, and I said that Hewlett Packard was the first company in 1989 to release a laser desktop printer that was retailed for $1,400. That's 18. So today it's close to $3,000 or more. But it eventually sold for under $1,000. So even then, printers were thousands of dollars, right? Double your.
Just to clarify, you're talking about $1,000, 80s money.
80s money. So today it will be close to 3,000.
Because I was going to say, things computer related in the 80s were way expensive. So anything would have been expensive, and then you raise that for modern day equivalency.
Yeah, not today a printer costs a third of that.
Yeah, but we're not comparing the cost of the printer. We're comparing the cost, the value of the money. $1,000 in the 80s is, I don't know, more than today though.
Well, certainly about 2 times. It depends on. I think it's like 50% more.
I was literally just watching a video earlier today about the trick that they do at the end of Trading Places, which I believe is also an 80s movie.
Yeah.
And how it would have netted them like $250 something thousand dollars, or $250 million something dollars, and then the equivalent today would be a couple of $1 billion.
Still, $250 million is a lot of money.
Well, there's a rule now on the stock market called the Eddie Murphy rule. specifically
So you can't
because
do
of
that.
Trading Places. Well, actually, it's
Yeah.
because of real world stuff that kind of mimics what happened to Trading Places.
Even then, my point is that this is part of his kit. It's not actually. I originally said it's part of the camera. It isn't part of the camera. It's actually its own thing that he has on his lab. But the fact that he can print out high end glossies, photograph quality, glossies without overheating on his lab as well, because that's pretty hot too. This is oh wow, look how tech we are in the future of 0079, right? Like. Because one of the things about laser printers is that they run hot. Well, used to anyway. Not so much today. And no, now it isn't because of the laser itself, but because of the heating element in the paper. And
Kodak had a self-printing camera in the 80s, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, but it literally says digital laser printing device.
Well, you also got to remember,
And
this is the future.
we're not talking about instant cameras. I had those Kodaks that you had to go like this, like
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I had those though. But that glossy is much better than anything that came out of one of those cameras.
Well, I'm just saying though, you got to remember though, this is 80s tech, but it's also the future, so it's retro future tech. For meme's sake, I felt I needed to mention this. There are no subtitles for it, so clearly it doesn't happen in the original. But when Steiner and Charlie are talking in the park, and the camera focuses on the remote-controlled race boats, in the English dub, the kid goes, "I'm winning, Dad," to which he replies, "You sure are, son." Just couldn't stop thinking of that old "you winning, son" meme.
Yeah.
On a more serious note about the differences in sub and dub, in the sub, Steiner says, "We're going to lose," and Charlie replies, "Yeah." It reads as dejected acceptance. In the dub, Steiner says flat out, "We're not going to win," and Charlie snaps back with, "You're right." The tone is completely different. In one, it's like acknowledgement and acceptance of reality. In the other, it's a harsh statement of fact. And both give completely different impressions of the character and what they are thinking.
Which is one of the reasons why I say it's a suicide mission, because on the original, it's basically most like they've accepted their fate. They're not going to survive this, but they're still going to do it anyway.
Well, you're reading it completely differently. Because that statement that they're giving there has nothing to do with whatever this mission is. They're talking about the Xeon. They're talking about the Xeon war effort, and you're saying, "Oh, that's a suicide mission." No, they're talking about everything that they fought for this entire war. That has nothing to do with the microcosm of what's going on here on this mission.
Moments before, he basically says, "Yeah, you could just leave. Just it's a nice colony. We should just leave." And it's like, "Oh, I'm going to still do the mission."
He's saying it's a nice colony because he probably knows what the fuck is coming this episode. Better hope he stays unconscious. It'll make things a lot easier for him.
I don't think he's even alive, but sure.
No. Remember, Bernie says, "I think he's unconscious." If you didn't wait a second. If you didn't think he was alive, and I said, "You got any notes about the board?" Why didn't you say, "Why isn't Steinemark dead?"
Well, we don't have confirmation that he's dead, but I think he's pretty much dead.
But very clearly, this is the moments you should say this shit, is when I'm talking about the board and you see Steiner's alive on the board. So actually, I think this guy's dead.
Oh, to my next note then. And if you forget who she is supposed to be, she has a sweater with a giant letter on it, like a varsity jacket. That's Chris, or I guess. Well, this is Japanese. Her name could be Chris, not Christina. With a giant C on her sweater, like boom.
Yeah, we talked about it during the reaction. Although I will say that I think this is one of those notes where you should have written more information.
Yeah.
Because this one, you had to explain what the fuck you were talking about. Like, in case you forgot who she was, who the fuck are you talking about? I forgot who you're talking about.
Oh, Chris.
Is Chris not concerned that Al asked to visit the secret Federation base that we needed to use an entire episode of scouting to find? Al says he just asked her to visit the base, and she said that was okay, either implying that the Federation base wasn't actually hidden at all, and they could have just, at any time, asked where it was. Where are the nuclear vessels? Anyway,
Well, the
or
thing is,
that Chris
right.
has no concept of security and threat assessment to even wonder how Al knows about the base. I mean, he knows she's a Fedi soldier, despite her claiming to do data entry or something like that, and he has no idea where she goes, as it's never indicated in a conversation or following her or anything. I don't think Chris could just assume that Al thinks there's a Federation base here.
Well, the Federation is the main entrance is supposed to be like a hospital or research facility of some sort, right? Like, oh, this is just a civilian research.
We're saying that
But she should know
retroactively.
better. She should know better.
The main
Right?
entrance to what they scouted is like a warehouse. It's underground at the warehouse. So what we see in this episode is that there's something up there that he goes and visits that doctor for. Future notes about that too. But how would he know? Like, can I visit the base? What base? We got a leak. We got a leak.
Hell, it's a base, right? Oh, how sweet. The
See,
parents approve of Bernie.
I thought you were say start singing the opening of the show.
No. Because when Bernie's like, oh, call me Bernie, call me Chris, walks away, the parents are like, oh, yeah, he seems like a nice young man who's not going to kill us all. Okay, cool.
Okay. I mean, no comment. Not like I got a bunch of comments. I just want to say no comment. No, I've got nothing to say about that. It's kind of funny that the reporter interviewing Professor Lumumba specifically asked him if his research involves mechanical arms. As the English voice actor for the professor is Bo Billingsley, who also famously voiced Jet Black in Cowboy Bebop, a character with a mechanical arm. I know there is no real connection to those two things, as the English dub didn't come out until a little over 10 years after War in the Pocket came out. Just a funny little thing I couldn't help but notice / think about when I heard his English voice.
On that scene, though, the questions that the reporter asks are very insightful. Like, oh, yeah, you're doing research on this. That could be used for mobile suits. And his answer is like, yeah, but so can toasters and cannons have some, some relations. Like, who's buying that? Literally, who would buy like toaster, cannon?
Heating elements.
I know that, but actually, well, energy weapons would have healing elements. Regular projectile weapons would not have
Well,
any.
it just says cannons. There's been a variety of cannon. We don't know which type he's referring to. I would assume some sort of heating element to, I don't know if you use the word ignite here.
Or probably springs as well. Then that makes the toaster go pop. Yeah.
I've already got another note about literally that conversation, but it doesn't regard what you're talking about here, so I'm not gonna meld that in. So just let you get to your next thing.
Okay. My next note. I would talk about that. We talked about this as well, so I'm gonna just go to Bernie's story. Bernie's story, especially in the English dub, shouldn't have worked at all the moment he opened his mouth, since Sydney is where Island Ifrit made landfall, obliterating the city and causing over 4 billion lives lost worldwide. All Fed soldiers should know this by now.
I guess my problem in responding to this is that I seem to, looking at my notes here, I have two different comments, or two different notes, literally one about Sydney and the other about Bernie. So I guess I'll read them both. I'll respond to your note with both of mine.
Yeah.
Quick, Bernie, can't let them hear your Xeon accent, even though I've been talking to everyone for a couple of days now with no problem. Better come up with a completely new fake identity just for this occasion. Now then, what's the exact opposite of a Xeon accent? I got it. Australian. So apparently it's summer in Australia from December to February. Tangential thought in my head, though. Fair enough for the Fedi to know that. He's at least possibly from Earth. Clearly not from Australia, though, given his guessing at the accent. Bernie, though. Why would he just assume December and snow if he's from Munzo? We just covered the fact that it's summer on different parts of the Earth at different times, this whole thing, establishing the fact in the viewer's mind. why would we just assume that Munzo's weather patterns would be northern hemisphere focused? The sides could each have their own specific climates without being held to what Earth's was, especially considering their desire to distance themselves from it. It almost feels like a conversation we had about if Xeon was a Christian nation, as per some God-centric turn of phrases some characters have said in the past. Like, if they were, are they just making December snowy to follow the classic depiction of Christmas?
I mean, we see at least in this side, in this bunch, we see Santa Claus, somebody dressed like Santa Claus, and they're celebrating Christmas or preparing to celebrate Christmas. My guess is if they had a choice, they would have done so like that, right?
I mean,
but
I don't
that's
know
just
why, considering, who writes these stories. But I think my indication comes from a conversation I think we had in 8th MS Team, where I brought up the fact that they said some very specific phrases that are Christian focused. And it's like, why would those phrases still exist in Munzo? And does that mean that Munzo is Christianity centric? And again, that would then imply that they didn't celebrate Christmas. And then does he think it snows in December because Munzo very specifically follows a white Christmas theme? Because I know, like, not everywhere in the world, obviously, snows in Christmas. That's why, literally, if you like old Rankin and Bass productions, you have Heat Miser and Snow Miser. Then they hit 2 different types of Christmas people can enjoy. So the idea is that, are they celebrating a white Christmas in Xeon? And in
they
December?
could program one, yeah.
What's I'm saying though, they're depicting that their weather patterns could be anything they want. So are they basing it on a northern hemisphere? Like, is Xeon
Probably.
very specifically Germany's weather patterns?
I mean, the coding is there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just follow through with that. Also, remember the writers are from Japan, and I guess their expectations of northern hemisphere weather patterns will.
Well, that's what I was just indicating when I said by who writes the show. It's like, well, why would they make any country Christian? They don't have to. Religion isn't something we cover a lot in this Gundam. That is.
No.
So it just feels weird that every so often it's just like very tangential, like background stuff. Like, why is he saying that? They shouldn't be using those phrases anymore.
Well, you answered with your note, so I guess I'll say my final note then. And this is the very last scene. And now Al is confronted by the full brutality of war. Not something that looked like an accident, but people he knew, now dead or dying. It is not a game anymore.
Again, except for the fact that when Bernie first showed up, he went back into town and saw literally people dying in the street and felt nothing.
But that's what I say he knows, right? And the way that scene is presented, it's like we see somebody, in a gurney covered with a sheet coming out of a place. That's it. We don't see like mangled body, something like that. So it's like, something happened.
Talking about the Bernie thing? Because he comes back into town, there's literally a dead person laying in the ground with a bloody handprint on the side of a car, person crying over their body. He jumps on top of a car to see it, and then his friends say, hey, by the way, class has been canceled for today. Yeah! He doesn't fucking care. He's a little psychopath. If, God, damn it, it was right in my head, and now it's gone. What's the horror monster toy?
One of how many?
Chucky. If Chucky had wanted to switch bodies with this kid, Al would have been, yeah, let's do it. Chucky doll,
Yeah.
Child's Play. Couldn't figure the movie's name for a second.
Yeah.
If Child's Play had happened with Al would have been all fucking about it. He wouldn't even care what was going on. What do you mean? I get to be out of school forever? Yeah!
Your next note, or whatever you have left.
I feel like Witch Mercury took its basis from the professor in this episode. The impetus behind Gund technology in Witch Mercury are enhancements needed to make the human body viable or able to live in space, as well as improved parts for people that had been injured or disabled, and that then leads into the creation of the Gundams through various means. Essentially, just like the reporters asking him about the connection between mechanical arms and mobile suits here in the Universal Century.
Although he later says something up to Al when Al is playing with the
Necessary
robot,
evil.
really. No, but before that's like, oh, we haven't been able to make them small enough to be useful in the very thing that he's supposed to be researching, which is, I guess,
Well,
cybernetics,
yeah,
right?
remember Witch from Mercury is an AU. So I'm saying that I think that
Yeah.
Witch from Mercury gets its inspiration from this. Because that's the impetus behind a lot of Witch from Mercury and Gundam technology, is that when the characters in Witch from Mercury try to do it, they're trying to emphasize the medical applications of gun technology, which they eventually have to, because one of the characters, right near the end, loses a leg. So, but the idea being that the prologue for Witch from Mercury, we're in like the asteroid base, which is doing the research on this, and it's one of the main doctors there. Is you get the montage essentially of, yeah, we replaced like all the stuff in their arm, or we replaced their hearts. Because I think the idea is that space is bad for humans, in that we
Yeah.
can't really deal with the radiation, so we kind of have to enhance the human body to be able to live in space through Gund technology. They call it Gund.
Okay. Your next note.
Unit Spacey has its own Pegasus ship, the Grey Phantom. Thus far, beyond the one that we see in G-Quux, which doesn't count, this is the second Pegasus class ship we've seen.
It makes sense that it was, if the white base was successful as it was, and they would try to replicate it, right? And improve upon it. This one looks longer and larger than I remember white base. But then again, it could be perspective of animation as well, right?
Yeah.
Stylistic. But also launch. Well, no, it has to be bigger because it launched like about 6 to 8 mobile suits. I don't know if the original white base had that much space on it. Then again, it only had 3 of them.
Sure
So
did.
whatever.
I don't think it was larger. I mean, I would argue maybe you're right about being longer, but I would argue perspective. I can't really tell. It launched, well, 1, 2, 3,
And it also
4,
didn't launch in the
5,
same way that
6. Yeah, maybe it was 6. I remember at least 3 in the air. One other one gets killed, and then the one under the bridge. That's fine. I will also say 6, sure. But at the same time, you remember that White Base held how many core fighters? The core.
we don't know how many core fight. Well,
Well,
we know
no.
that
I'm talking about
each one of them.
we had the gun tank, we had the gun cannon, and we had the Gundam. Then we had
Each one
a
has a core
couple of
fighter.
individual core fighters, and then the thing that comes later, that's Sailor pilots.
No, that's built around a gun core fighter. That's a G-Bull.
Yeah, I know, but it's also its own thing, and it also comes in 3 different segments. Plus, they have the gunfighter. They have to also have the core fighters, not just the thing built around the core fighter, because you need one core fighter for each of the things that incorporates a core fighter into it. So, as I'm saying, I think given the space each one of those things requires, that they could probably have 6 dedicated mobile suits.
Yeah. They also get launched not out of the ramps, but kind of like vertically as well. They get.
Well, yeah, but White Base could do that too.
Never saw that it could launch things vertically like that. It always, was always the catapult.
It had multiple openings across its. The same way that like a core fighter could come up from underneath it, latch in, and get pulled in. It had multiple openings all throughout it. We just never saw White Base do it, but I assume that's more because White Base was in 1979. Speaking of which, I don't think Scarlet Team is going to be well remembered. They launched, got shot down mid-air drop, and their falling remains killed God knows how many people. Least effective defense group since the Iron Cavalry.
Yeah.
Although at least the Iron Cavalry didn't kill more people in failing.
Yeah, it actually, the implication was that he killed that lady with the kid. Like when she goes like, ah, and
I don't know.
I
mean, I could see it, but I don't know. Like, they didn't show me. For all I know, because the pan back is also all the lights going out in the area. So the flash and then darkness could just be the darkness of the lights going out in the area.
And then a piece flew out and hit another area.
No, not just one piece. Like, I almost think that was the munitions going off from the wreckage. Because it kind of looks like rockets launching. So, like, if you play Mech Warrior and your ammo gets hit, causes an explosion in the area, and this is just all of the ammunition going off.
Okay. Looking on.
Well, my final note is just a literal note. The RX-78 NT-1 is also called Alex.
So Alex is being piloted by Chris, who's being chased down by Bernie.
See, my head goes back to G-Quux because we just finished it, where we have G-Fred. So we can have Alex and Fred. Not for nothing, they're both at Side 6. Well, they both were at Side 6 at one point.
Now we're missing Adam and Eve, too.
Funny you should say that, because our new sponsor... Get your sex toys now. All right, well, that is the end of the notes. As I said, we have a couple of comments, and we're going to do this in a fun little way. I'm going to read one comment, and then I'm going to let you decide if you're going to read the next comment yourself.
Okay.
So, first up,
I don't have the comments here with me, so...
Cool, that's going to make it real easy. Anyway, let me get on with this. The first comment is Mr. Freaky from Patreon, Over the River and Through the Woods. This episode, we saw the RGM-79 SP GM Sniper 2 from the Gundam Universe game fall and turn its mask on. Also, the blue Zaku looking was a MS-18E Kampfer.
They look cool looking, by the way, yeah.
GMs suck.
Snipers are pretty powerful.
Yeah, if you got a big head.
No, they have a regular size head. They just have the extra...
No, I said if you've got a big head. You're responding to me as though I said, no, they've got a big head. I was like, I don't fucking care what size of mobile suit. The joke is Sniper's dream. You've got a big head. But to suck out all the fun of a joke lessons. That's what you're here for.
I gotta have
you're here to spoil stuff and suck the fun out of jokes. And the comment section hates me.
Mostly.
All right, well,
not entirely.
Decide if you're going to read this.
Okay, the last line was the one that... Okay, let me expand this. This is... I am going to read it. It's pretty long, so I will read it, Okay. It is from Mr. Pika Gamer from Encounters in Space. The Iron Cavalry, this is from Origins, are the prototype versions of the RX-72-2 gun cannon. They began in a different project a year prior, thus the RCX designation instead of the RX. The core booster is not the G-Boo or Fighter. Tomino famously hated the G-Armor, so scrapped it entirely instead of having it replaced with the core booster here. It's like the G-Fighter form. It is like the G-Fighter form, but it's only on an aircraft, and it's not compatible with any part of the mobile suit other than the core fighter itself. That's from the movies, when they changed it. Slager only tapped Cameron because he knew he was capable of turning Cameron into a pulp with a single blow if he used 1 ounce of actual strength. Okay, sure. Let's go with that. Lala randomly flirting with Amuro before running off does make sense, even with her being in love with Char at the time. She's the same age as Sayla, only a year older than Amuro herself, and so probably just innocently just messing around while having a break. The weird gun on Char hip is an Zeon's officer heat gun. It is a weird weapon. Think of weaponized blanks. Originally, they were miniaturized beam weapons, but it got changed in future series. It is implied that, but never confirmed, that Tem was taken out by his drunken fall down the stairs. We talked about that when it came out in the movie as well. Little never seen or hear about him again, though. That blonde in Gieran's office is a trusty secretary and heavily implied mistress of Mrs. Cecilia Irene. She's always existed in canon, but this was first ever appearance in canon piece of media. She was to appear in the chunk of the story that got cut when Gundam was really canceled. I'm not seeing your face as I read this. I gotta make sure that I have both in.
Literally, the channel's name Stoneface Reaction based on me, so there's no reason to.
No. I want to see whether, because this is intriguing. We talked about most of it, so far no spoilers. I think he's talking about G-Cux in this time. He actually moved forward to whatever he's talking about.
No, this was Cecilia Irene shows up in the movie.
Yeah, but she never talks.
Well, no, she doesn't talk until G-Quux.
Now I'm going to read this as written, okay? Boner was the modern boner by the mid 70s and was cemented by the early 80s when it came out. I think they had Slegger use it to show that he was an old school guy, not in the know with the mother lingo. Oh, okay. Sure, I guess. Interesting. So I think with Mira is weird and comes completely out of, but she did still have something with Brian. Okay, never mind. I'm skipping that part. I love how the moment when Char breaks up Amuro and Lala's moment, Amuro goes straight into murder mode. It really shows how much Amuro really hates that loser in red. Okay, Theta, I will say this every time. I will say that this time, every time, blame Giran, Caecilia, and McHugh for purposely sabotaging the peace talks. Degwin broke Revel out because he wanted peace. Well, we knew that. He was ignorant to the fact that literally none of his kids, except Pharma, wanted peace, which is strange, but okay, let's go with that. They wanted to either justify invading Earth or be allowed to completely steamroll Earth's government, giving them the authority to do any dubious thing they want, like we see in G-Kirks, okay? Sadly, the biggest loss in the Gundam universe of Giran firing the solar raid is like 9 out of 14 GM cannon space types that were assigned to protect Rebel Sotita, and we're part of the one nearby. I forgot the name of. Don't worry, this isn't spoilers or anything. Thank God. All this came from the MSV, which is in a manga, but instead a magazine that closest to the tech spec guide on mobile suits. Their history and aces a 1 year war that didn't appear on the screen, and we know how Theta feels about tech manuals.
Well, actually, I just want to respond to the second sentence, where it seems like they're telling me to blame Giran, Caecilia, and McQueeve instead of Revel. Yeah, separately. Everyone has their own blame. Degwin broke Revel out so that Revel could initiate the peace process. Revel, on his own, is the fuck up there. Giran, Caecilia, and McQueeve are their own thing.
Okay. Next paragraph. Yeah, Sion is hurting so much they already sent out 2 complete perfect Zeons, leaving Char with the one without legs, which despite being complete and not in its finished design, became his iconic look in the franchise and throughout the games. Bit of a spoiler. McHugh vanishes off into a manga, never to be seen again by your eyes. Well, we see him GQ, so by my eyes. Unless you read it, okay, that's manga, we're not going to cover it. It talks about a sequel, we're not going to talk about it. I know this is something Amuro did in the original Mobile Suit Gundam as well, but I absolutely adore the fact that for the final battle at Abaku, they armed the RX-78-2 with 2 hyper bazookas while its being rifle strapped to its back from where it finally runs out of ammo. It really depicts Amuro on the whole another level to everyone else on the field, like an 80s actions hero let loose to wipe out as many jobbers that get in his way as possible. You know what? You legit wearing Giran's suit after stealing his corpse is a great... I headcanon that fact now, Theta. Thanks for that. So apparently you're now in universe wearing Giran's, post-mortem uniform.
I don't know if I said anything during the movie that... I don't remember saying anything like that, but I guess fair enough. He got shot in the head. Yeah. The outfit's still fine. We can clean anything out from the neck.
Little blood.
Yeah, from the neck.
That little blood. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Well, there's no blood. Again, the blood splatter goes in 0G outwards that way. So, if anything, there might be a trickle down the back of the head. Clean that up with a napkin.
Backlash, yeah. Something fun is part of the movie now showing it's Kai is still canonically the first Federation pilot to touch down on Abaku in this timeline. He is also still the pilot with the second highest kill count on White Base and last mobile suit pilot left standing. Okay.
I mean, we don't know that he's the first Federation pilot to touch down Abo or Quo.
In the series, yes. In the movie, we don't see that.
No. I mean, even in the series, we don't know. Nobody confirms that Kai's the first one on the ground. No, you don't know. Somebody on the... Abo Quo is fucking huge. Any GM pilot could have landed anywhere else. They're not the focus of the show, so we don't see them.
Okay.
On camera should be the qualifier in that one.
Yeah. Now, this also covers aspect that we talked about in Wing as well. Accordingly to this note from Mr. Pika Gamer, Pika Gamer, not Pirka. The Goof did have an ejection system, but Ramba never used it because Amuro made it useless. I guess because he was so deadly that it didn't matter if he got hit, you're gonna die. Which is not true because Ramba
Amuro
survived.
slashed the cockpit. That's how Ramba gets
yeah.
out. So he made it useless by making the whole entry system to the Goof useless.
He also smoked all but one guy we've seen in a Goof. On the surface of Abaku, wouldn't be in zero G is high enough to produce his own weak gravity. Okay, if only Seal went to the battle tech school of the sound, they would have saved as many ace pilots. Somehow, both the series and the movies make Kai look badass when he whipped out the rifle the moment his gun cannon was left inoperable. It very much reminded me of the While Playing Gundam Battle Operation 2, where he will battle. Okay, that's game stuff that has nothing to do with this. Wait,
I mean, I would also argue that Boko isn't big enough to have its own gravity. I mean, everything has its own gravity, but like this is even weaker than like moon gravity. Things would still seem to be pushed, at a strength greater than the gravity pulling them back.
Okay, Kika, Cats, and Let's work. Oh, this is about Kika, Cats, and Let's doing a countdown at the very end of the show. We're counting down time, which it would be safe for Amuro to push the piece of debris he was using to shield himself away since the cockpit of the core fighter was completely destroyed. This ending, its music especially brings me to tears every time I watch it. Aww. I associate it with both some of the best and worst times of my life. Okay, sure. I have no point of reference for that, so I'll leave it as is. This is a series that I've been into far more than 20 years now, and a ton of games I played in the early 2000s, bringing to both this trilogy and 0079 music into my memory. It is a point in which I can always return to. Like Amuro playing with Lala, the insight into the future, if the brief shot you two seem to have missed, is a soldier aboard the Sion capital ship wearing a hood with one on his face, though I don't blame you because both of you were locked in a conversation. I think that's the shot that we see Char escaping, and you said, "Oh, I've noticed him. He's in the window as he's going by."
I don't know. I would think it would be, but the element that they're describing somebody wearing a hood with a wound on his forehead, that's not something you would pick up from the silhouette image that I'm talking about Char escaping in. So that might just be something else. In which case, timestamp, please.
Yeah,
timestamp, please. And the YouTuber who's seeing this 6 months from now.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We'll be well into like 80,
whatever,
0085 or 0093 or whatever from
the final sentence out of this has 6,729 characters. Yeah, okay. Seda came out very shortly after these films. Doesn't say anything about Seda or its content, so I will keep going. A little bit less than a year later, from my knowledge. Theta, all caps. I already like Space Tommy Wiseau. You don't have to convince me any further. Don't know what that means. I leave that entirely up to you.
I did not hit her. I did not. Hi, Mark.
Oh yeah, the room. Okay.
Tearing me apart, Lisa.
So who's supposed to be Tom Wiseau in Gundam then? Oh, because everybody's smacking everybody in 79.
Remember how far removed we are from the movie. We have how many shows have we finished at this point since we finished the movie? Igloo,
well, we finished
8th MS Team, Revengeance,
and now G-Cooks, which is alternate history, but
we don't count G-Cooks because one, we're not also. There's the thing, we're not counting G-Cooks because we just said alternate history, but also we don't record it. We were recording it on Saturdays. Our normal Universal Century recording days are Mondays, so only the shows we recorded on Mondays do we count in this.
Yeah, so those would be that. So I guess he's talking about Slayer, because Slayer slapped Murray, I guess. But everybody's slapping everybody else. I had a pseudo slapometer in '79 from the very beginning. So yeah,
Pseudo in that you never brought it up.
I brought it up all the time. I just didn't have the counter
I mean,
on screen.
more of the element that you said, hey, you probably have a slapometer. And I said, no, that would be hard to do. And you never mentioned it again. I would argue that I probably have a bigger slapometer than you do, in that I made 2 GIFs of the slap and put it on our Discord.
Yeah.
Sorry, I made 1 GIF of a slap. The other one's punch.
Anywho, do we have any more comments after that one?
No, that's it.
Okay, then.
All right, I guess with that being said, nothing left but to hop on in.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Probably should have held off on the old cartoon conversations, because we had a whole opening to get through. That we could have talked about Danger Mouse and Duckula and all that.
Yeah.
Man, good theme songs. I would say the Duckula theme song is better than Danger Mouse.
And Warren the Pocket keeps giving the tradition of a upbeat song about a dark, dark story. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Well, to be
This is gonna
fair,
be fun.
it happens 10 months into the 1 year war. Sorry,
Yeah.
11 months in. Don't take 12 months technically, but
In December, it's literally
yeah.
the
But I
last
keep
month of the
thinking
war,
when I was basing it on the element of the 1 year war starts in January, so I was like dating it 1 month after that. That's why I said 1, and it's like, oh well, not November. I meant December, so 11 months. It's like, well, no, actually, technically, the 1 year war starts very beginning of January, so it is just flat out 12.
Well, it should be. It says a 1 year war, but well, it ends officially in January, so 12 months.
Well,
But the war didn't
technically,
start in January.
it's the 359-day war, but we can just round it out. No. Just to explain, why I was fumbling there with the months is because we did the math on when Origin ended, and then when Mobile Suit Gundam started. And it's like, well, this clearly is September, even though it seemed like Temrai was going to Side 7 at the end of Origin, and that was in January. So we were doing the offset of math, and that's why I keep doing that with the 1 year war in my head.
No, they even give it a lightsaber sound.
But no armor.
I mean, it has armor. It's just that it's a
No
pretty
armor.
big caliber gun.
No, this is literally killed like next to nobody. The rest of Gundam.
No, that's not a standard Vulcan, by the way.
Don't care. Oh, hey, that spoiler you were talking about.
Yeah, this jackass. Commander Forehead.
即刻中止だ。この場を離れろ。しかし、中佐殿の命令で。キリン、どういうことだ。どういうことと言います。
Oh, his name is Killing. Okay.
弾頭の使用など許可した覚えはない。私も許可された覚えはありませんな。貴様。
This is the first time I think we've ever seen the service pips on an admiral's uniform in the Xeon side.
Okay.
Well, that's what happens if you're a Xeon officer and you have morals. I assume he's going to be killed by Caecilia at some point in the future. She should still be here. She doesn't leave for Abaquo yet.
Yeah. In case you didn't know he was dead.
Yeah, he could have survived
just
that.
A reminder.
He's a big guy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure.
あのモビルスーツのパイロッ
Ah,
ト
you're being misogynist asshole.
ご苦労
Okay,
様
cute.
です。
こいつを倒したのもあんたなのかね。
はい。
生き残りのジオン兵士が2名市街地に逃げ込んだらしいんだが、何か思い当たることはないかね。
いえ、特に
どんなことでもいいんだがね。
申し訳ありませんが。
では今度の襲撃には内部からの協力者がいたという情報があるんだが、それについてはどうかね。
Are you suggesting that I helped and then killed them?
Yeah.
よろしいでしょうか。
よかない。連中が動き出せばまた人が死ぬんだ。大体妙ですな。中立コロニーであるはずのここにこうもあからさまにジオンが攻撃してくるというのは。
Even by supposedly. Are you not from here?
なるほど。
Yeah.
知っているが答えないということですな。連邦軍はこのコロニーに駐留するという名目で密かにモビルスーツの開発をしていた。だから
They shouldn't even be stationed here.
違うかね。
お答えできません。
Well, no, they have a treaty now with the Federation, which is why I said in an earlier note that the Federation clearly must have strong-armed them into it.
But that means that there's no neutrality already.
もっと
Yeah,
多く
I
の
know.
人が死んでいたはず
Quite literally the point of the note that I'm referencing, where I said neutrality was the Side 6's best defense.
死んでも仕方のない人間なんてのは一人だっていないんだ。数の問題じゃないよ。
He has a point. Christmas Far, Wonderland.
Oh, burning some food, I assume.
やだね。見つけたらぶっ殺してやる。何もコロニーの中でトンパチしなくても連邦軍が何やってるんだ。子供だよ。
かわいそう。
Oh, what did I say? Now I'm starting to understand the fucking world. Because what would the point of the show be if he didn't fucking start getting some understanding? Also, you're gonna hide back where the other Zaku was?
Well, the
Also,
only thing
they
that
haven't
allowed him
moved
to
the old
escape-
Zaku yet?
Well, he's dead too.
バーニー、あいつはガンダムはどうな
Eh, just lie to him. Say it is.
あいつはミーシャが破壊しました。僕たちも早いとこ脱出しましょう。
They did say they couldn't see through the fog, so
バーニー、嘘が下手だな。
隊長、隊長、隊長。
So technically, you were correct. He wasn't dead at the last moment that he was,
yeah.
but he died now. So
ハーディがシュタイナーが死んだか。ミーシャは
戦士です。
髪の黒い若いのは。
戦士です。
そうか。
Oh, I see. Can't remember the name of the Hispanic guy.
脱出しろ。なるだけ急いでな。
警戒が収まるのを待つつもりですが。
いかん。すぐに脱出するんだ。
待った方が安全だと思いますが。
They're gonna nuke
わ
us.
かってる。
じゃあなぜ？
No idea why I'm not leaving.
いいか。よく聞くんだ。クリスマスの夜までにガンダムを始末できないときは、グラナダの艦隊がやってくる。核を使ってコロニーごと吹き飛ばす作戦だ。
そんなバカな。
まったく
I mean, this is the same side that did Operation Operation British. I don't think they're gonna post.
あなたは
You
Making
can't
this place.
fucking say that. Do you not just see that the other guys were like, no, you can't nuke them? The Xeon guys.
このコロニー
You're like,
And yet they got killed for it.
yeah, and legitimately what
With
you're
help from
saying,
other guys, yeah.
legitimately what you're saying is they wouldn't have any problem doing it. No, they did have a problem doing it. They had such a problem doing it, they had killed their own men.
バーニー、僕だよ。バーニー。
You're legitimately trying to write off all of Xeon as horrible, when in fact some of them are trying to stand up against doing more horrible shit.
俺を探してたか。
うん。
そうか。
And yet they failed.
Your problem, Lessons, is that you don't believe redemption exists.
I do believe redemption.
No, you
exists.
don't.
You guys
Clearly,
didn't get a
'cause
chance
you-
of redemption.
clearly, yeah. No, they tried. They tried to stand up for not doing more horrible shit, and you're like, well, fuck them then, I guess.
人間って
You just don't believe that people can change and that they don't deserve a chance to be able to change.
もう考える
I do deserve this. These guys are not showing me any change, and the people who
They
stood up to them
died.
got
They
killed
fucking
by
died.
the
And you're
very
like,
system.
fuck those guys.
死ぬんだ
I didn't say that.
No, you did. You're saying it right now. Also, I am so goddamn hungry. I could go for some whatever McDonald's ripoff we're doing right now.
ある
ん
俺は今日中にこのコロニーから脱出する
If Bernie was a responsible adult,
そうだ
なんで
he should tell Al to tell Chris that if the Gundam is still here by Christmas, they are going to destroy the colony with a nuke.
気持ちはわかるが
Yeah.
時には逃げるのも男としてだな
大丈夫だよ
That way he can still escape and live,
死んじゃった人
and Chris, the other responsible-ish adult in this room, can try and do something about it.
までにガンダムを始末できないときはグラナダの艦隊が来る
There we go.
爆弾を使ってコロニーごとぶっ潰す作戦なんだ
Bernie, say it isn't so.
このコロニーは確実に破壊されるもうどうにもならんお前もここを離れるんだ母さんと旅行に行くとか
でもクリスマスまでにあいつを倒しちゃえばいいんだろ
できるわけないだろ
大丈夫だよバーニーなら
できないのあんな
Well, like I said, see if Chris will do it.
新型だって
She might be willing to destroy the Gundam for the benefit of saving her colonies worth of people.
どうするんだお前が動かすのか
え
俺はなモビルスーツなんて一機も落としたことがないんだ
あと一機でエースだって言ったじゃないか
言わねえよ
言ったよ
俺はただのひよっこでみんなのお荷物だただ連れてこられただけなんだよ
嘘だバーニーはあいつが怖くなったんで
Well, he
嘘を
should
ついてるん
be.
だ
ああ怖いね怖くない方がどうかしてる臆病とでも何とでも言えよ
待ってよ
うるせえぞいか
バーニー本当は強いんだろあいつをやっつけられるんだろ
見ろ盗聴マイクだお前が俺たちのことをバラすんじゃないかと思ってこいつで盗み聞きしていたんだ仲間の印なんて嘘っぱちさ行きたかったら逃げるんだあるなあこのコロニーから脱出しろ
You'd think he'd do the hurt dog move,
みんなはどうなるの
which is slap Al across the face that we were just pretending to be your friend. Get out of here, you fucking kid.
そうすれば
俺は逃げると決めたんだ
I think it's just that Bernie's also a kid as well, right? He's what, 6, 18,
No,
19
no,
at
I'm
most,
saying
right?
that he needs to convince Al to do this thing. So if he's gonna say that, hey, we were just fooling you, we weren't your friends anyway, then just go the whole route. Make him angry at you. So angry that he'll want to betray you.
警察へ行って話すからね
そんなことしたら死刑だぞお前だって同罪なんだから
Like I said, the problem of a kid that doesn't understand death holding a knife.
Oh, look at those people. Happy, happy people walking on the sidewalk.
No, that's alright. They just need a bit of color. They were in Durarara for half a second.
気持ちいい
Remember, animated in Japan.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's just in his imagination. Not really happening.
True, but still.
学校はどうした
お前だって同罪なんだ死刑だぞ死刑
サボりかおいあったんか
I mean, the school got bombed, so I don't know if he has school. You guys say no, the school got bombed, so.
Well, got hit. They were fixing it like that. You saw a scene of them digging shit out. Well, actually, that might have been a preview of this episode. Doesn't automatically mean somebody was going to propose and they died.
ある
Oh, this must be where he asked her what she would do, because literally we saw that in the preview of next episode. I would fight. You mean you wouldn't
何でも相
run?
談に乗るわよ。ねえ、そういえばバーニーはどうしてるの？最近見ないわね。知るもんか、あんなやつ。え？どうしたの？あのね、もしもね、宇宙艦隊が攻めてきて、このコロニーが潰されちゃうとしたら、クリスどうする？戦うと思うわ。え？逃げないの？そうね、逃げないと思うわね。怖くないの？怖いでしょうね。でも怖いのには耐えられるけど、一人ぼっちになるのは耐えられないから。一人ぼっち？お母さん。
I mean, you're all alone in that Gundam.
友達。私の大切な人がみんな死んじゃって、私だけが生きてるってこと。自分だけ逃げても一人じゃ生きていけないもの。私。やっぱり逃げるっていうのは卑怯なことなんだね。そうじゃないの。私が戦うとすれば結局は自分のためよ。自分が一人ぼっちになるのが怖いから戦うんだと思うの。でもそれは私の生き方。逃げることもその人の生き方。どっちが正しいとか間違ってるとか。
Again, I think the person you have to tell what's going on is Chris. At least at that point, she's the least likely one to try and get you executed.
正しいことなんてどこにもない。自分にできることをするしかないんだわ。関係ないこと喋っちゃったかな。ごめん。ありがとう。あ、ねえ、バーニーに会ったらよろしく伝えて。
SAS Area Una, yeah. Little rockets.
The third location they're going to is Ukraine.
船あるかい？
Hope that works out for him.
どこでもいい。
あんたね、この戦時にそんな。
Sorry, is that the name of the island,
go-
the person, or... Okay, it's a place. The island.
フランチェスカで1枚だ。
料金520ハイトです。
Oh, hiked us, yeah.
That's not that much. Remember, we went over this in G-Quick, it's like 520? That's like a couple of days of laundry.
ほら、入っちゃダメだ。
話してよ。ケイは？テレポットは？みんなは？
知らん。
We're construction workers, not goddamn teachers.
バカ！アホ！
あ、こら、お前らもか。いい加減にしろ。
チェイ、テルコット。おーい！
Yeah, imagine having nothing better to do than go hang out at your ruined school.
昨日学校来なかったろ。
すごかったんだぜ。ジオンのモビルスーツが来てさ、学校壊してったんだぞ。
みんなは？
みんながなんだ？
学校にいたみんなは無事だったか？
はあ？お前バカか？
It's like the middle of the goddamn night. Yeah.
ああ、どうしたんだよ。
You should know. You were kinda there.
かっただろうなんて言うからさ。
俺たちは来たんだぜ。
攻撃のすぐ後でさ。
なあ。おい。いいもん見せてやるよ。じゃん。
ズーン。
こいつが今日の収穫。
That's already bigger than the case you were holding it in.
嗅いでみっか。
Yeah.
Hammer space.
そんな顔すんなよ。お前にもやるから。な。
あれ、どうしたんだ？
They're all gonna die, he knows it.
元気出せよな。
こんなんいくらでも落ちてるから。
But also, he's moved well beyond this. This is a
Yeah.
crazy shirt.
そうだよ。笑うんだよ。な。
艦長、キリング中佐より通信が入っています。繋いでくれ。
出撃時刻が決定した。12月25日0時00分だ。
ミサイルは
Just after Dozel Zombie dies, if you could.
キリング、本気で あれを使う気なのか？
司令部の決定に反対か？
いや、
お前が有能だからこそ与えられた任務だぞ。分かっているんだろうな。
ああ。
成功を祈ってるぞ。
See, I could see the ending credits going a different way. An imagined what if ending credits, that would be different.
Or what could have happened if they survived?
Yeah, that's why they're celebrating Happy New Year's. The kids that don't make it.
それは大変だ。すぐに逃げた方がいいぞ。さあ、早く。
本当なんだよ。
だからほら早く逃げなきゃ。
本当にクリスマスの日にジオンの艦
He's kind of being a dick about it, but true. It's an emergency, you better get out of here.
信じてよ。
お前、この前ひき逃げだなんだって言って大騒ぎしたガキだろ。覚えてんだぞ。
今度は本当なんだよ。
いいから帰れ。親呼ぶぞ。
みんな死んじゃうんだぞ。バカー。
He's a kid. Believe them once, but
知らないからな。
well, if they're dead, I don't think they're gonna be sorry much. That's the problem with being all dead. You're not gonna be sorry. Aerospace Line, NTW.
クリス。
Well, ironic given the conversation that she's not going to be
Yeah.
here for the nuke.
Oh, someone else. He thought it was her, but no, it was.
Yeah, no, it's giving you the impetus not to leave.
お飲み物は何になさいますか？
ウイスキー、水割り。
かしこまりました。こっちにもウイスキー追加ね。お客様、もう控えられた方が。何よ。あっちの人には OK で私にはダメってわけ。
Weird pink purple hair guy in the background there.
ダブルでお願い。
Had a hair color I think we've seen in Gundam before.
はい、3杯と5クールです。
I like that it has the sippy top because they're in low gravity.
ありがとうございました。
I guess he's old enough to drink.
感情置いとくわよ。
Oh, I think Francesca is a space colony, I guess.
そうよ、私。仰せの通り今出発するとこ、麗しのフランチェスカへね。厄介払いができてさぞほっとしてるんでしょ。あの子とせいぜい幸せに暮らしてね。
Ooh, okay.
酔って
Well.
なんかないわ。少しお酒を飲みましたけどね。全然酔ってなんかないわよ。酔えるもんですか。結婚しようって言ったのあんたじゃない。何を嘘ばっかり言って行きたくないわよ、あんなとこに。フランチェスカなんて最低のコロニーじゃない。
Oh, one of the
Answers my
other,
question.
one of the side 6 colonies.
今度の女もすぐバレる嘘ついて垂らし込んだんでしょ。私の時と同じ。嘘をいとす根性もないくせに。
嘘だ。本当は強いんだろ。バーニー、あいつをやっつけられる？
But all the lies he told Al, you know, he was an ace, or he was about to be an ace.
好きだからね。
楽勝？
I still think it's real odd that Charlie's not trying to leave.
Okay, but he's gonna try to destroy the Gundam, or is he gonna try to stop the fleet, though? That's a decision he has to make, because I don't think destroying the Gundam is gonna change anything.
No, that's the point.
If he can.
Yeah, destroying the Gundam would be the point.
離婚するの？
そうじゃないの。父さん帰ってくるの。いつ？クリスマス。
Just in time to get
いつ
killed.
までいるの？
Yeah.
だよ。
Yeah, it will be forever.
父さん
In the
と仲
biblical
良しなの。
sense.
どうしたの？嬉しくないの？
うん。
Yeah, I was kind of hoping one member of our family would survive.
暮らしてくのよ。
You could have just returned it. Hey, I didn't get on the flight. Can I get my money back?
父さんまで死んじゃう。みんな死んじまうんだ。
ある？電話よ。
I was about to say, he better not be at the front door. Because your mom will, hey, there's a strange older man here to see you.
That you claim was your older brother from...
Well,
was the
she
story?
might not know that. His dad's old fling from before he got married.
Well, that's what he claims that happened.
You just
We don't
asked
know if
what
that's
was
ever
his
true.
story. I'm telling you what the story was.
あのね、さっきはごめんなさい。お願いだよ。僕たちを助けて。バーニー。
ああ、そのつもりだ。
本当？
ああ、あいつを倒すためにもう一度攻撃をかけることにした。
No, but the thing is that this guy's willing to use a nuke to destroy entire colony just to get suit. I don't think even destroying the mobile suit is going to be enough.
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
That's what I was
that thing
saying
is
before the
killing.
element that they've already set the attack date. Which means
Yeah.
they're not checking if the mobile suit's dead or not. They're just going to
Yeah.
launch.
So next episode, I think we decide whether or not this Banshee survives or not, basically.
Yeah.
That
Here's the thing, though. They were supposed to send that thing to White Base, but White Base left. And they never contacted White Base, which I said before was an oddity in my head, too. Because if they had sent it to White Base, they wouldn't have to nuke the colony.
Yeah.
They could just
I think it
redirect
was in
all those
Win-
forces to attack White Base, in which case, we'd have an episode where White Base is trying to avoid a nuke. But, like I said, if I thought Bernie was being self-sacrificing enough, he would just turn himself in. But to Chris, because I think Chris is the only one who would actually have any chance of believing him.
Yeah.
And in which case, Chris might do something, fucking insane to try and save everybody. Because I think it's outside of these two hands. They fucked everything up enough.
Yeah.
Here you go. Have some spent shells.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, either this is just imagined sequence of what if they didn't die, which of course isn't so great on its own, or this is what happens, in which case the kid survives. The kids survive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, it would be insane to show us the events of the 1 year war and then circle back to the previous New Year at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they're wearing helmets, so.
発見時注意出撃だ
了解。
武器が足りないんだ。
宝探しみたいだね。
森で戦います。
Okay, so Bernie
Yeah.
dies. Also, didn't they completely remove all the weapons from that thing?
I think so.
I guess they didn't
Yeah.
recover the heat axe. Or whatever the fuck they called it in G-Quok. Said when people in comments keep telling us, oh, they've been calling it that all along. Fuck you, no they haven't. That's right, flicked you off too. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Lightning Hawk, or what, I can't remember what the fuck they called it in G-Quok.
Heat Hawk.
Heat Hawk. Well, they've never said that before. Not once.
They might say it here, though.
They haven't yet. They've been calling me wrong in G-Quoks because they said it once in a show we hadn't watched yet.
Or it's in one of multiple technical manuals.
No, they implied it. They said it in the show. They didn't say it
Oh, we
in the
missed it,
original
then.
Mobile Suit Gundam. They didn't say it in the movies. They didn't say it in 8th MS Team. They didn't say it in MS Igloo. They didn't say it in MS Igloo 2. They didn't say it in Requiem for Vengeance. They haven't said it
Nope.
here in War in the Pocket. So, for having said it all through the original stuff, I sure as hell haven't said it in the vast majority of 1 year war material.
The thing is that if Bernie really wanted to save the colony, well, not only tell Chris, but actually use his mobile suit to attack his former comrades, I guess. It's the only way that would work.
I guess if Al, did you say Bernie or Al?
Bernie.
Oh, okay, I was thinking Al. It's like, what can a child do?
Not
And
much.
well, maybe call in a Xeon threat to the government and then activate the nuclear reactor of the Zaku.
How would that stop anything?
You would create a massive nuclear explosion in the side of the colony, which would probably seems to be in the middle of the forest, so it wouldn't probably kill anybody directly, but it would create a giant hole the same way that we did at Side 7 that caused Side 7 to be evacuated, in which case we might be able to evacuate the colony before the nuclear attack comes.
Yeah, that seems a bit too risky, and there's already one hole in the got blown off as well. So yeah,
I
that
think if
could
they were
probably
willing
destroy-
to evacuate the colony for having 2 fucking giant holes in it, then that would save everybody.
I don't think they have time either. That's the problem. It's not millions of people to be evacuated.
They've
We
got
don't know how
6
long it's going to
days.
take.
I mean, that would get the thing
This is
started.
18, no, actually 5 days, because this is the day after 19. Yeah, this is the 19th, probably the 20th, either the 19th or the 20th. So yeah, they don't have a lot of time.
More time than if you waited to do something else. Certainly more time than if your plan failed. My plan failed, we're still in the same spot. Your plan fails, we got nowhere to go.
Anyway, I think the colony is going to get nuked either way.
Oh, this says the guy who knows how the show ends. That's interesting.
No, I don't know how the show ends.
You've said you did before, like right when we started.
I thought I did, but now that I know about the nuke thing, I'm like, oh, that doesn't. Yeah, that part doesn't work. I know aspects of it, but I don't know.
I really wish
it's
that
a-
a lot of the shows that we watched, I wouldn't feel like you were jerking me around every time. Hey, I
for
know how
sure,
this
I mean,
one ends. I got some spoiler information about how this one ends, or I briefly kind of remember from a long time ago when I first saw it how this one ends. And invariably by the end, you're like, oh, I don't actually remember, or I don't know, or I thought it was something else. And it's like exactly the stuff I'd feel like you would say if you were just trying to jerk me around, like, oh no, I may have said something, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Just one of those things. So every time we
No,
get
'cause
too
the
close
element-
to an
the
end
element
of a
here is
show,
the
and it's like,
nuke. That's the more I say, the more deeper I'm going to dig myself into. So I want to stop.
that's the problem, is that you start yourself off by saying, oh, I know this thing. I know how the show ends. Like, oh. That's the element of
Anyway.
always going in blind.
Anyway, anything else about this episode?
Probably was a lot more in my head right up until you asked the question.
A mind erasing question. Oh, interesting.
Well, no, there's just the element that I was on one subject, and that subject's really hard for the mind to pivot from. And
I mean-
all the other subjects about the episode that happened so far are easier to pick back up when you've taken notes about them than they are in the moment to decompress from.
Yeah, this is, in many ways, this is like, we already had in 79 and other stories, teenagers going through hell, right? And though there were kids, the kids more or less stayed on the margin. This is a story about what happens if you get a kid who doesn't really understand the horrors of war, and then boom. Now in this last episode, they realize, oh shit, what the hell, right? We're all gonna die, right? And I think that's the value of this one episode. You do see, Al going, like, having that nightmare scenario. It's like he sees, like, that shot of the school getting vaporized and the little girl that he's always fighting with, first one to go. Like, fucking hell.
I mean, not technically the first one to go. It's the second flashback of the explosion.
Well, the one is the street, but when we talk about the school, and the school itself, when the flash happens,
I would also argue
she's
that it
running to the
happened so
teacher.
quickly that it doesn't really matter who got hit first.
But the fact that he imagines it in that peculiar order, that she's running to talk to something teacher, and she's the one that gets blasted away.
No different than Terminator, right? When she's watching the kids play in the playground, it's like, get out of there, and then she sees herself pick up a kid, and then they all get nuked, and it's literally quite everybody gets hit by the blast at the same time. It didn't really matter who's moving in the scene. Everyone got hit by the blast wave. It's not like it's not like seeing everybody get shot, right? And then one person gets shot. No, it's like, oh, you imagine that person getting shot first, and then everybody else got shot. No, it's blast wave. Everybody gets hit. And while you're doing whatever you're doing, I'll just say the reason I was laughing while you were describing it is because you said a certain series of words that inspired in my head. This is actually a story all about how Al's life got turned upside down. So if you just take a second and sit right there, I'll tell you how. Anyway, you understand where I'm getting here.
Yeah.
No different if you've just told me that it's been 1 week. Yes, I remembered what I was just describing lessons.
Yeah.
Of Sarah Connor holding onto the fence, because the fence is what's literally separating her from the other side of herself. Because if you don't remember, it's literally her wearing like a sweater vest with her kid on like a one of those rocking things they have in parks.
The life that she could have had she not met John Connor's father.
Well, no, I'm saying it's not the life she could have had. It's the life that it's literally Judgment Day. It's no life. It's the impetus that she would die in Judgment Day with everybody else. I don't think it's the life you could have had if that life is literally death.
Well, isn't that all life eventually?
Oh, I see you're a politician now. Now you can do an apology video in a graveyard.
Yeah, touche for that one. Yeah, I got. Yeah.
It's all right. I thought you were. I guess you still believe in the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
So it's in my head because I also just watched. I can't remember. Was it Standard Comedian? No, it's one of the news, the joke news channels things. No, I don't think any of us thought we were immortal. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Oh, Last Week Tonight. That's right. That was on Last Week Tonight when they were talking about the big beautiful bill, and they were covering cuts to Medicaid and her speech and her so sincere apology video. Did you drive to a graveyard?
We laugh because we don't want to cry, basically.
Well, I mean, I think the understanding here, and to go back to what you were talking about, that we all die without going to the political side of things, is the element that we all trying to avoid death as well. Anybody can say, you're 80 years old. I think that's probably long enough. We don't have to do anything to save you anymore. No, everyone wants to live as long as they possibly can, to the point of quality of life being maintainable, right? To the point where it's not painful. The desire to live isn't outweighed by the loss of quality of life or pain. That is well, obviously one hand can't lift up here because that's the push to talk hand, but consider that, well, maybe the other one's that low. Or maybe I'm already past that point. One of these two things.
The balancing act. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is ultimately outside influence, the deciding factor on when it's time to go. I mean, sometimes, unfortunately, other people try to tell you when you can leave, and Dr. Kevorkian did some good work, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's a person's right to choose when they go.
Yeah.
And if they decide that they're done, who is anybody else? Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand that there's the problem is that we live in a society, and I don't mean that like in the Joker way. I mean that we all work together as a communal unit, which means that your dead ass body has to be taken care of, which involves other people. Like, people have to be paid to handle you, and it's like not probable that you set aside a couple $100,000 to pay everybody in the process to get rid of your ass. So it is a slight inconvenience for everybody. But then again, you're at that point, you don't fucking care anymore. It's time to go. It's time to go.
With that, I think it's for us time to go as well.
Oh yeah, because A War in the Pocket has been such a happy show so far.
Yes, yeah. Happy-go-lucky times.
Well, I guess that said, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?